Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving right into the fascinating psychology behind some of your most specific and, honestly, probably misunderstood conversational quirks. We're exploring the architecture of intense connection. So, if you've ever felt like a bit of an outlier in casual social settings, well, this one is absolutely for you.
Let me ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest here. Do you absolutely despise talking about the weather, but then you find yourself deeply discussing the meaning of life, childhood memories, or literally the mysteries of the universe with a stranger you met just 10 minutes ago? Think about the contrast between mundane topics like the weather or what someone had for lunch versus massive concepts like the meaning of life and the universe. You probably sit in total silence during casual group chats about those everyday things. But the second someone brings up a complex, deep topic, boom, you completely open up. Your brain violently craves that depth, and today we're going to uncover exactly why that happens. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the small talk dilemma, and unpack the social stigma around it. People might have told you throughout your life that you're socially awkward, that you're way too intense, or that you just don't have a conversational filter, and you've probably felt the weight of those labels. But psychology actually reveals a totally different reality. Hating small talk isn't a lack of social skills. It's actually a massive sign of cognitive strength. Skipping the pleasantries and jumping straight into the deep end points to a highly intelligent, intensely curious mind. Your brain simply refuses to waste its valuable energy on surface-level noise. Moving on to Section 2, your brain on small talk, looking at the mechanics of intelligent processing. See, your brain is structurally built for rapid, continuous processing. And because it rarely ever slows down, it demands some very specific things to stay engaged: continuous processing, high complexity, a real mental challenge, and constant novelty. Without those four elements present in a conversation, your mind literally starves for real mental stimulation and, well, it just begins to shut down. And that leads us to the chemistry of boredom. Shallow topics literally halts dopamine release, which makes small talk feel genuinely mentally painful. When you're forced to engage in chatter about, say, what someone ate for lunch, that simple information is processed way too easily. Your brain just stalls out on releasing stimulation chemicals like dopamine. You don't hate the person you're talking to. Your brain simply disengages because repetitive tasks and slow, shallow conversations literally cause a sensation of mental pain. That brings us to Section 3, thinking in layers and how you actually see the world. So, moving from how your brain reacts to boredom, let's look at a core reframe of how it's naturally wired to view reality. It's called complex cognitive processing. This is the natural wiring to think in entire systems, constantly seeing patterns, contradictions, and complex connections, all at the exact same time. And this perfectly validates your experience. You are inherently wired to process reality on a much deeper, far more intricate level than the average person. The average mind often sees the world in black and white terms, basically thinking in simple sentences. But your complex mind, it naturally gravitates towards layers and patterns. You think in entire systems. And this major difference in processing is the exact reason why small talk feels so incredibly exhausting to you.
It literally feels like trying to run a high-powered computer on dial-up internet. I mean, that describes the bottleneck perfectly, doesn't it? You've got this supercomputer for a brain, but the conversation is feeding you data at a sluggish dial-up pace. It is just immensely frustrating.
But the moment someone brings up a deeply philosophical idea, that supercomputer wakes right up. When deep topics arise, you aren't oversharing. You're finally speaking your native, layered language. It's not that you lack a filter at all. It's that your brain is finally allowed to fully engage and operate at its maximum capacity. You become extremely engaged because, mentally, you're finally home. Let's shift gears to Section 4, protecting social energy, or the economics of observation. A highly observant mind really has to manage its social energy carefully to avoid burning out completely. Small talk actively increases your mental fatigue because you strongly prefer quality over empty quantity. Surface-level chatter doesn't just bore you, it actively drains your energy reserves. You don't feel energized by shallow interactions because you know they lack real meaning. And that is exactly why you completely refuse to force connections that just feel empty or fake. In a typical group setting, this usually plays out in 3 distinct steps. First, you stay quiet in large groups. Second, you observe to preserve your cognitive bandwidth. And third, you totally unleash your thoughts when a true match is found.
Now, people might wrongly label your initial silence as shyness, but it's actually a highly calculated preservation of your valuable mental energy. You're just observing the room until you sense someone who matches your curiosity. And once you do, you unleash all of those stored up thoughts and emotions. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, chasing truth over popularity and the pursuit of authenticity. All this calculated behavior is driven by a profound, abstract need for absolute truth. Think about it. Would you rather be politely liked by everyone in the room or entirely honest and authentic? Because your thinking is naturally abstract and layered, you prioritize genuine, truthful connections way over simply conforming to some socially acceptable script just to be popular. So when you jump into those deep topics right away, what are you actually doing? Well, oversharing is basically a subconscious litmus test for depth. You're quickly bypassing the pleasantries to test the waters. You want to see if the person you're talking to can actually handle your intellectual depth. Surface-level living is never going to satisfy you, so you run this test to filter for a real, genuine connection. And if they failed the test? Well, the validating reality here is that if those deep connections are missing, you would honestly just rather be alone. You want conversations that truly stimulate your mind. If you can't find that genuine, meaningful connection, solitude is far, far preferable to participating in shallow noise. So the absolute crucial point to take away from our explainer today is this. You are advanced, not socially awkward. The next time someone acts surprised when you skip the pleasantries and ask a deeply profound question, please don't feel awkward or apologize for being too intense. You do not lack social skills. You simply possess an advanced, brilliant mind that violently craves real meaning. Which leaves us with this final, empowering question. How will you turn your unique cognitive wiring into your absolute greatest strength today? Embrace your incredible mind. If decoding the real psychology behind your brain in this explainer finally validated how you work, make sure you subscribe to Valid Mind, the source material for today's deep dive, for even more insights. Stop judging your conversational quirks and start leveraging your depth. Thanks so much for learning with me today.